All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another real estate wholesaling analysis series. My name is Elton, like Elton John. I'll be the one hosting this series for today. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But for the new month of April, there will be some changes on the schedule for these real estate live wholesaling analysis. So if you're coming from Meetup, you're gonna get there's gonna be a notification on what the new dates and times will be there. If you happen to be new, welcome, and welcome to your first real estate wholesale analysis, where we go live and analyze some real estate deals that are on the market. Most of the off market, it's pretty much the same thing that we're going to be walking through. Your off market deals are you're collecting them or you're doing some type of marketing to get all your lead inbound listings. But I'm gonna do some on marketing properties so that way you can see how it works in the process of analyzing some deals. I'm gonna be going through a few steps as well too of pretty much real estate wholesaling analysis as well too, so we can break down how to go through all those steps. But my name is Elton, like Elton John. I've been wholesaling for roughly 10 months, a little bit more than that actually. I think about a year at this point. Now work mainly with investors to do like my own investments at this point, and beyond that, I used to do a lot of sales. So I have like a decade of sales. So real estate wholesaling really comes natural because it's pretty much just communicating overall with people, building relationships, asking questions, and again from there just have that relationship going on. So with that being said, I'm just gonna be walking through a quick expectations on how these events go. Pretty much we're gonna go through a quick presentation. It's gonna take 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, drop it in the chat. Then afterwards, we're going to move on to some real estate live analysis. If you happen to have like an address or a property you want me to analyze, drop it in the chat. That way we can go through, we can walk it out and then see what kind of analysis we're able to go through it. Then of course at the end, after the analysis, is going to be opening for some Q&A. So if you have any questions about real estate wholesaling that you've been wanting to ask somebody in person, that'll be your time for you to unmute yourself and then ask any questions that you have. And then afterwards, there's going to be a breakout room where everybody can break out and network with one another. So with that being said, let's just try to jump into it. So first things first, real estate wholesaling, it is a multitude of steps, major steps. All these major steps have minor steps that basically build it up. But additionally, from there, the main one that we're going to be focusing on this series is going to be the estimated repairs and the maximum allowable offer. And of course, how to find like some deals, what makes a deal work as well too, depending on what kind of properties you're looking for, like your buyers at the end of the day. So when we're looking into the analysis, the first foundation we have to understand is the ARV. This is the number one thing that we have to look for, like in the area. So a little bit of a step back before you start looking for properties. What I emphasize is basically find a market or analyze like your market, which I'll walk through some of the market, some random market for today on how to find like a deal in that area. Two, find your buyers. The more you start connecting with buyers, the more you start understanding where buyers are buying from, then it will be easier for you to look for those specific deals. And then afterwards, start looking into like properties. So this step is basically step number three. You'll start looking for properties, and then once you find properties, start analyzing them. So that's where this steps will start coming in. So the first foundation on analyzing a deal is definitely the ARV. The ARV basically tells you how much the property can go for in that specific market, depending if there's a lot of properties being sold, if there's a lot of properties under contract, or if there's a lot of properties on there that are being sold and that have sold just yet. But ARV is basically what the property is worth once it gets fully updated. So again, the after repair value, pretty much it says it. Now, after that, the way your buyers calculate a lot of the deals, that is essentially good. It is essentially for you to find out what your buyers buy, how your buyers buy, what your buy, how much your buyers buy. So who, what, when, how. So all the five W's is basically what you gotta be finding out from like all your buyers, and of course build that relationship from them. Next is part of the ARV is part of the process of getting a house flipped. If your investor is looking to fix and flip a lot of deals, then they have to understand repairs. You also will eventually want to understand repairs as well too. But part of the process of wholesaling, it really comes down to like what your end buyer really wants to do at the end of the day. If you estimate a property needs $30,000 worth of repairs, investor one is going to end up saying, no, this property needs 60. Investor two, they end up saying actually I can get away with like 45. And investor three says I can actually get away with like 20, $25,000. Again, it really depends at the end of the day what your buyer really wants to do, or they can completely demolish the whole house and then like start all over again, build something new. So it's really up to like your buyer or what it is exactly that they want to achieve at the end of the day. But when we're looking at repair per square foot, let's stick to these average repairs nationwide, with the exception of some major states like California, New York, Washington, um, Texas, Florida as well too. There's like the major expensive areas. You want to add at least 15 to $20 more per square foot on those areas. But stick to these again, stick to these average price per square foot. Just add 15 to $20 if you happen to be in those expensive areas. Looking into like some light repairs are going to be consistent mainly on properties that are pretty much updated. They're just going to be requiring like a quick paint, or most of these are going to be rental properties as well too. So light repairs are going to be just very well conditioned homes that just need a little bit of an update. Next is looking into the average repairs. These are going to be diving into the properties that are more in the spectrum of actually fixing and flipping. So looking into these, you're gonna start working and doing some projects in major areas like kitchen, bedrooms, bathroom, flooring, walls, roof, landscaping, windows, doors. So you start getting from like the major areas down to like the little space areas, or like little touches as well too, that will make the property very unique. And of course, additionally paint as well too, inside and outside. So that's what the average repairs will be if it's going to be mainly for like a fix and flip type of project. And next, we have a full gut job repair type of project. These type of projects are basically going to be coming into play when the property it's a full nightmare, or there's been like a fire inside the property as well too. These are the ones where again the buyer can completely demolish and start all over again, depending on how bad the conditioning of the material that is there, or like the wood that is there. If there's not enough mold, if there's a lot of mold or a lot of rotten wood, then it's just best to like start all over again for these type of projects. And these are going to be very expensive projects where you pretty much have to do the entire property all over again. And usually these type of properties are going to be in the very low cost, like 50 to like $100,000, depending on like on the area or the market that you're into, or you're diving yourself into. But again, these are going to be the average price per square foot is 45 to like $60 per square foot. Next is we are going to be the part of the process when we're looking for some similar properties, or how to find like the ARV, is basically you want to look for similar properties that have sold, are under contract, and are selling at the moment. So you want to look at past, present, and future. So that way you can see, you want to find comparable homes, so that way you can determine like the ARV. And you want to stick with specific parameters when analyzing some of these deals. First things first is the living space of the square footage. The square footage of the property should be plus or minus 300. Lot size, this will vary if you're this will is I like to apply these mainly into properties that have like acres of land. So a quarter of an acre, half an acre, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 40, however many acres of land are involved into it. You want to start analyzing the lot square footage of that property, or the subject property you're looking into. Next, when we're looking for comps or comparables in our area, you want to stick within a radius of half-mile to 1 mile radius. You are allowed to go more extensive, but the more extensive, like 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, now you have to start making some adjustments like on the price. So you're getting out of the area, but then the price is going to be dropping. The closer you are, then you're going to get a more accurate perspective on what the prices are for that specific area. But you want to stick within a radius. But again, if you want to go out of the scope, then there's could be a consequence on it, which is you have to be a price adjustment as well too. Looking into it as well too, what helps identify the areas is looking into like neighborhoods, and these neighborhoods get separated by major roads, or aka double yellow line roads. And what these double yellow line roads are, basically there's buses, construction trucks, semi trucks, delivery trucks, just pretty much all communities just drive um, through these major roads where there's a constant flow of traffic, constant flow of just cars, pretty much moving every single day, where it basically that road is splitting up the neighborhoods whatsoever, which every single time you go to come into a subject property, there's going to be those areas that you will notice as well too, where there's going to be a major road into it. Sometimes there's double yellow line roads, but it's a one way and one way. Again, sometimes you can make an exception. It just depends on how much traffic there's going on that road as well too. But again, part of it is you want to compare the same neighborhoods at all costs, because again, the closer you are to like the neighborhood, the more accurate you're able to get in terms of like the spectrum of the ARV. Looking into the years, you want to look at the plus or minus 10 years on the properties. When you want to find these properties, you want to find at least 2 to 5 comparables where there's been like a lot of projects happening, sold or are under contract at the moment. Properties that have sold are basically telling you what has happened in the past. Just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to repeat again at the moment, because the ones that are going to tell you what's happening in the moment is going to be the properties that are under contract. So if they're on the contract at the moment or pending, then that's what the market is actually reacting to at the moment. So if there's a lot of properties that are getting fully updated that are pending, then that's letting you know like, oh, there's a lot of movement, or there's a lot of first-time home buyers, or people are just trying to buy like an investment property where they want to settle in there for a while, or just live there for quite some time, and it's going to be their type of investment as well too. So look at sold and currently pending as well too, so that we can get a perspective of what the market is. And when you're looking for sold properties, you want to look in the last 6 to 9 months from there. Um, Next, we are going to be going through a quick breakdown on what an investor looks like in a deal, what makes a deal for them, and see if it actually makes sense for them to invest into that deal. So we'll walk through that. And then part of the analysis, I'm going to be some free resources like Redfin, PropWire, Zillow, Realtor.com to help me find some of these properties. And then to analyze these deals, I have some tools that I created to help me expedite my process on getting my numbers out there. So I created like my own calculators, the ARV calculator, which is mainly for fixing and flipping, rental one, if I'm trying to analyze a property that it's in terms of like rent wise, and then there's going to be a CRM as well too. So you can, if you want to get access to all that, I am going to show you how to where to look into it, but you can head over to eltonvargas.com/calculators, and you're going to be able to see that from there. But let's dive into the analysis breakdown, or the investor strategy breakdown really quick. And then this is going to be basically how an investor will look into like in a deal if they're looking to do a deal based on their 70% strategy. So this is a very common strategy a lot of investors use when analyzing like their deals. Again, it is essentially a tremendous step that you have to take for you to find out how your buyers buy. So ask questions when you're networking with buyers, ask questions when you're calling buyers as well too, so that way you can find out exactly how they analyze the deal, because not every investor is going to be analyzing the deal the same. But based on this strategy, we're going to walk through this deal and then see what makes sense. First things first, we do have to find a property. So again, if you're doing inbound marketing, outbound marketing, whatever type or however it is that you're getting like all your leads, first things first, we have to find a seller, in a seller that is motivated. So that's going to be step number one. And then from here, so we find a property where a seller actually wants to sell. So the seller is interested on selling their property for $764,000. Maybe they have like a friend that was a real estate agent, or they were a realtor or a real estate agent themselves. They're really updated. Or sometimes it'll be just like, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want to get from my property. And that's pretty much it. So first, when you're looking to like reaching out to sellers, you want to find like the motivation. Why is it they want to get this amount? What do they need the money for? If again, is you're working on building the relationship, so that, and also setting the expectations for them, so that way they can make, if it makes sense for them to move forward with you or not to move forward with you, or what will be like the best alternative if they're really interested on selling their home. So But for this example, we're going to be looking into a seller that is actually interested in selling their home for X, Y, and Z reason, and they really want to get rid of this home as quickly as possible. So next, we want to make sure we understand like what the property's condition is. So we're going to dive into step number 2 and looking into the repairs. This could be if you're doing in person, you're able to check it out in person, or if you're doing virtual wholesaling, then virtual wholesaling, you need to have like somebody for them to check out the property for you or to take pictures of the property for you so that we can get a perspective of what the property needs. But for this example, we come across the property, you're able to check it out in person, and we notice that it needs roughly $80,000. Again, I'm making my projections. It's not a guarantee because again, at the end of the day, it really comes down to my buyer. If they're willing to spend $80,000, they can spend more, they can spend less. It's really up to them. But I'm estimating based on my research that the property needs $80,000 worth of repairs. Now, based on the market that I'm looking into, I already know my market. So the area can definitely, this property can definitely sell for $875,000, which is so far it looks like a really good deal. But we have to really find out if this is good, where we have to buy it at, or where we have to get on the contract for it to make it a deal. All right. So first things first, the way we're gonna walk through this is. For the 70% strategy, again, a lot of buyers are going to do this thing very differently. I'm not saying all buyers are going to do it exactly the way I'm showing it, but this is how some buyers that I've come across do it themselves. So the way it goes for this is we find the ARV, we subtract the ARV from the repairs, and we get this new ARV number, what I will call it. This new ARV number is 795. From that 795, we're going to multiply by the strategy of the 70%. And what the 70% basically stands for 20% being profit, 20% being $159,000, and then 10% being closing costs, which is going to be roughly $79,500. So 20 is basically what the investor's looking to get out of it. They're trying to get 20% out of this deal. So the investor, the most that they're willing to pay for this deal is $556,500. Again, this is just an example. It definitely can definitely come true. But it really depends on the work and the motivation and how all the information that you're getting, how you're working with the seller directly. But let's say you happen to get the property under contract or below what the investor is actually willing to pay for. So you got the property in the contract for $550,000. Now what you're going to be doing is now you're going to be promoting the assignment of contract of sale. And this is very important. You're not selling the property. You're not a real estate agent, because if you're selling the property, you're doing basically you're promoting the property illegally because you don't have your license. Unless you have your license, then that's a whole different then that's perfectly fine. But for this example, if you're not a real estate agent, wholesaler, or you don't have your real estate license as a wholesaler, and then what you're doing is an assignment of contract sale. And basically, you're selling the contract of assignment for $570,000. You might be asking, well, why am I going to be selling for $570,000? Because you put in the work, you negotiated with the seller, you work with the seller, you build a relationship with the seller, you found their motivation, and you touch a lot on their pain points that they really want to move forward on selling the property to you because that's who they liked, that's who they trust, and that's who they want to really do the business with, just because it really works on their convenience on time frame. So with that, then now it's time for you to do the assignment of contract sale, and then you can do it for more, you can do it for a little bit less, whatever makes sense for you. But this is where you start promoting your assignment of contract for sale, where you're gonna try to aim to get a property for and try to get a $20,000 wholesale fee. Like I said, you can go more, you can go less, but now it's really comes down to finding a buyer that is willing to buy that property or that assignment of contract for sale for $570,000. Now, let's say you do find an investor who's actually really wants to take the contract, so they actually want to move forward with your deal of $570,000. Now, what you're going to be doing, or this is now we're getting to the perspective of the investor, is part of the process is they're gonna the investors or the end buyer is gonna be paying for the closing costs for the seller. So when the investors is going to be doing this, then they're going to be paying the closing costs as well too. And then part of that is going to be that they're going to be paying the closing costs. They're going to be buying your property or your investment of or your contract of assignment of sale. Plus, they're going to be doing the repairs for this deal as well too. So we got to be adding these three numbers together: the assignment of sale, the closing costs, and the repairs. So the initial investment for the investor, they're all invested in, is $705,000. Now, after they invest in this deal, now they want to resell it, and they're gonna go based on your numbers that you let them know as well too. So let's break it down and see if it actually makes sense. So they're gonna be selling the property roughly. This could be plus or this could be minus. It really depends because sometimes some investors can definitely get away with selling the property over asking. But this is a plus or minus game in real estate where the ARV is 875. The investor's going to be paying the agent fee to sell the property. Then he or she's going to be paying the closing costs again. But now their new profit is 796. But from that 796, we have to subtract what they initially invested in. So the actual profit at the end, it turns out to be $91,250. Earlier, I mentioned that based on the 70% strategy, their projected profit was going to be $159,000. But at the end, because of all the other fees, closing costs, repairs, and maybe anything extra that pops up, that cut into like their profit. So the investor ends up making roughly $91,250. Again, this profit is still a plus or minus game because that really depends if the investor actually sold the property for the 875. They could have sold it for a little bit less, or they could have sold it for a lot more. So it's literally a plus or minus game at the end of the day. But when it comes to looking to the buyer's perspective, it's basically looking and seeing how much they're gonna initially invest, and then how much they're gonna be buying, how much they're gonna be walking away with at the end of the day. So profit and the initial investment, it's the two major ones. But again, you want to find out how your buyers buy at the end of the day. But let's go from here. So hopefully it would help you guys get like a breakdown on how some investors think. But let's go now into some real estate live analysis. So let's go through a random market. Let me do the spin the wheel over here so that way I can get like a random market and then see what I'm able to find. And let's do a different one. I've done Chattanooga in the past. Let's see what we got. Fort Lauderdale. All right, let's do Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. Florida. Bam. Let me go through Redfin. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And let's see if we're able to find some properties. So I'm not in the market of Florida or Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So this is the way I'm going to be. And let me actually pull it up. So this is going to be my first step. So this is my real estate wholesaling CRM. This is where I'm able to keep a track of all my markets, my people, my properties, my comps, my all my deals, and so on and forth. But first things first, like I was mentioning, is we have to find out how when we're looking into an area that you don't know, if you're especially if you're a beginning or a starting investor or wholesaler, you definitely want to know like your market whatsoever. So looking into your markets, I want to find out what my market is for Fort Lauderdale because I don't live in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know what it is. But thankfully, I'm gonna show you guys this little hack on how to find out how much properties go for. Whatever market you're looking into, if it's Florida, New York, Washington, Missouri, Nebraska, wherever it is in the United States that you're looking into, Zillow does the homework for you when you're looking into a specific market area. And this is how I'm able to find the potential ARV of any market whatsoever. And the way I do it is simply just keep on scrolling down, down, down. And over here, I'm going to be heading over to explore nearby and average home values. So Zillow, again, does the homework for me. This literally took seconds for me to find out. And basically, I'm able to find out from Zillow directly for not just Fort Lauderdale, but all the nearby cities of how much properties are going for on those nearby cities. Not just that, it can break it down to like neighborhoods, if I like specific neighborhoods, or even further, I can go down to like zip codes. If you happen to have investors that are just like, oh, I only like this zip code for X, Y, and Z reason. So Zillow does the homework for you. So the way I'm going to be doing this is, again, especially Fort Lauderdale is not my market, but because I'm trying to analyze this market, I'm going to be copying this information. I'm going to be heading over to my CRM. I'm going to be pasting it, and I have to do a paste special with the CRM so I can put all the values. And basically, the left side is my potential ARV, And then my right side is my potential offer on if I'm looking for a specific deal. And then the potential offer depends on the strategy. So if I'm looking to buy on a hold, or AKA I'm looking for an investor that likes to buy a lot of rental properties, then I will select that. But a lot of investors like to do a lot of fix and flipping projects. So I'm gonna select the fix and flip project over here. And then basically it tells me what's like my range of properties or price that I should be looking to in that specific city. So if a lot of cities in Fort Lauderdale are selling for roughly $520,000, I got to look for a deal, and I got to look for deals that are selling less than $365,000. Or what I can do is, I feel like the whole area whatsoever, from there, I can average it out from the entire area, and then just look into seeing how much the entire all these cities combined can go for, which bring the average a little bit low or less than that $360,000, which is 305. But that's kind of like my range right there. I can look between 305 all the way up to like 365. So it's really up to me at the end of the day. But let's set some specific filters so that way we can take a look into this. I'm looking for some projects for fixing and flipping. So let me select the house. I'm deselect coming soon. And I like to look for properties that are at least 1,000 square feet for project wise. And then from there, those are going to be specific filters. Now my price, again, let me start up with that $365,000. So I'm looking for deals that are $365,000 and less, especially for this market. I don't know Fort Lauderdale whatsoever, but bam, there it goes. It gives me all, and I can remove the outline as well too. So let me remove this outline. And here we go. I have roughly 364,000. Sorry, I have 64 homes over here. The only thing is, I don't know if these are new construction homes, because I don't want new construction homes. Nope, I don't want new construction homes, and I definitely want for sale by agent. Okay, cool. So here, still 64 properties on Fort Lauderdale on that area. And then let me do the same thing over here on Zillow. That was through Redfin. So here, let me select houses. Same thing. I'm gonna look for properties. Uh, Let me take away from auctions and new construction. And then I want 1,000 square feet and higher type of properties. And then my price range is going to be again that $365,000. And here I have 78 properties. So one platform's giving me 78, the other one's giving me 64. I'm gonna go with Zillow because a lot of people like to list on Zillow. So now I broke it down from like thousands of properties that I can look into to now diving specifically into project properties that have been sitting, or project properties that are just have some people have really missed from there. But now I'm gonna be looking into these and then see what I'm able to find. And the thing with this, with that, looking into like those markets, or part of the first process is looking into markets, is you have to confirm, because not every single market is going to be the same. Because what this number of the 520 or the potential ARV is basically telling you property. This is a mix of properties that are fully updated and a mix of properties that are not updated. So they're combining all that data together. So it's a mix of those. So, but I whenever I find like a property or an opportunity, is I want to confirm, can this property can sell for 520, or can it sell for more than 520, or is it going to sell for less than 520? So that's when it comes to whenever you're analyzing deals, you want to confirm all that information, and that's what when looking at comps, it really makes it easier for you to find out if it's going to be a good opportunity whatsoever. Uh, so then let me start here from the top. Let's see what I'm able to find with some of these deals. And I think Miami, or not Miami, I think Florida, there's a lot of HOAs. So that's something else that I'm noticing as well too over here, is I need to deselect HOA properties. The reason why I don't like HOAs is just there's a lot of regulations with these HOAs. Where's it at? Oh, no HOA fee. All right, cool. Now it just took like 2/3 of it. So you see that really helps it out significantly. And here we go. We have our first potential project property that we're looking into. This property is $350,000, and It does look like it needs some work, like on the flooring. I'm not sure if that's a hole. Is that a hole like on the ceiling? Hopefully I hope they took a picture of that. Kitchen cabinets don't look too bad. It's just like the flooring, the paint. There's some mold up there, so there's probably like some water issues happening over there or just a leakage. So we got to figure out what's going on with there. So far I'm gonna start listing what it needs. Major project areas, again, kitchen, I'll say kitchen flooring and kitchen walls or paint. Definitely like the lighting. Um, Continue going with the rest of the property on the flooring as well too. Paint, bathroom can definitely need some update as well too. So bathroom, another bathroom as well too. I think there might be an issue with like the heating or the HVAC that it might be leaking, so that could be a huge problem as well too. So and oh, it has a pool as well too. So yeah, roof. The roof does look a little bit outdated. So there might be a roof as well too, but great backyard. Still, even with the pool, it's still very spacious. You got to power wash this to like clean it up a little bit, but it does need some little some major touches here and there. So this is gonna be more like on the average repair type of project. So I'm gonna head over to my calculator and then put in the asking price. Again, if you guys have any questions as I'm analyzing, you can by drop any questions on the chat. I'm going to be able to see them on my side. But the property so far that we're looking into is selling for 350. Square footage is 1539. We are in Florida, so it's an expensive area in Florida. So going back to the average repairs, over here. So the average repairs is 25 to $40, but because Florida is a little bit more expensive, I'm gonna add that 15 to $20 more for being one of those expensive areas. But roughly I'm estimating this to be close to like $35 per square foot on the average repairs, but I have to add the $20 more. So this could be roughly like $55 per square foot on that price on the expenses. There is no basement in Florida whatsoever. I have to find out from the agent because this is a property that it is on market. Find out if there's like a mortgage or any liens or anything going on with like the property so far. So far this is gonna be a fix and flip deal. And what this drop down does, it gives you like a potential offer right here at the bottom section of how much your first offer should be. If you happen to be like a fix and flipper, or if you're trying to wholesale, it gives you a possible offer from there. But again, my whole process when I'm looking into a deal is confirming pretty much everything on this specific area. Can the property sell for $500,000 or more? That's the first thing that I want to do because that's what the market is telling me so far. Two is look at the repairs. What kind of repairs does it need? That's what I'm trying to analyze. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. So far, it's estimating me based on the square footage. It needs roughly around $84,000. Again, an investor at the end of the day, it really comes out to they can do more, they can do less. It's really on how much they really want to spend. But those are just my rough estimates so far based on this deal. My resale price, I want to make 20% on this deal because based on the example I was showing you guys earlier, in the beginning, it turns out to be 20%, but extra expenses and the other things into an investor's pocket is going to start adding up. So when those extra expenses cut in are going to be cutting into like their profit. So again, 20% can turn into like 10%. But that's what I really want to confirm on what the potentials are. But let's say for this deal, I want to make 20% on this fix and flip deal. So then this property needs to resell for $563,000 for me to make the repairs, for me to do get my profit on this deal. Of course, pay the closing costs, make it as easily as possible on the seller to get this property at a discounted rate. The only thing too I didn't check is this is my fault. How long has this property been sitting? And it's only been sitting about 16 days. So it's still very fresh, hasn't been sitting for way too long, but it's the very first property that we came across that it's a project property that we can dive into. But now what I have to do is confirm, can the property sell for 560 or what the market is telling me, $520,000? Now that's what I have to confirm in my calculator. So let me put the 520 for right now because that's what it was telling me on the market research. Oh, 5.2 million, imagine. All right. But now I gotta look for comps. So I gotta look for three comps, at least three comps on this area to see if the property can again sell for more than $500,000. So let's look, and where is this property sitting? Right over here. So North Lauderdale. Okay. Great neighborhood. It looks like we have some parks. Looks like a lot of these homes are very close. So probably like HOA, honestly. So I don't know why this is not an HOA, but hey, it is what it is. Let me take away the maximum price, because what I'm looking for now I'm looking for properties that again I'm start breaking down and looking for comps. So let me start setting my filters. My square footage on my subject property is 1580 something. What was it? 1580, 1539. So the square footage was 1539. So I'm at plus or minus 300. Um, it won't let me do less than 12. So, okay, I'll go with 1250. And then the highest, there's no 18, so I have to go with like 17. All right, so let's see what I'm able to find over here. And I'm looking for single family houses. So let's apply that. And I'm not seeing anything that is selling at the moment for more than $500,000. There is this one right over here for 525. It does have a pool, and that's the other thing too, is because I'm comparing apples to apples and my property has a pool, I want to make sure that all my other properties or my comps have a pool. If they don't have a pool, then it's going to be an extra expense that has to get added into it, which pools are roughly $10,000-$15,000 depending on the size of it, but that's usually like the estimate for the pools. But in this area, I'm not seeing anything that is over $550,000. All right, cool. So that's what's selling. Let me look for what's under contract right now. Oh, damn. All these properties right over here. So we have a neighboring house. Does it have a pool though? Does it have a pool? Pool, no pool over here, but it's in better condition slightly. It's just like the floor. I've never been to like Florida, so I don't know this how like a lot of properties are. I like how the outside is, and I can definitely tell this is a property that got probably it was a rental property. That's what it looks like, honestly. That could be one potential one. Oh, another thing. Oh, no, I'm not looking for selling yet. We have this 1300 one, but it's same thing. It's in way better condition. I can definitely use this one. Floors. Like, is this how Florida homes are? Or is there not a lot of investors looking into this area? Here we go. I'm looking for a property that is like staged, or an example is this one. This is a great property. Um, granite countertops, white countertops, countertops, white cabinets, um, appliances. They didn't do too much on like on the flooring whatsoever, but that's fine. Bathroom fully updated. So this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for fully updated like properties where there's been like other investors. And here's one. This property is selling for $368 per square foot. So let me put that into my comping. So 368. So far looking good. So that's one subject property. And that's under contract right now. So that's why I'm looking for what's under contract, because what's under contract right now, it's telling me that there's a good amount of opportunities on this area. If there's not a properties under contract, then now I have to like start looking for like outside of the spectrum or outside of the neighborhood. And that's where I have to start playing like the price points. The price points are going to be a little bit more challenging. This one, same thing. This looks like a rental property as well too. This one does have a pool. It's a little bit bigger as well too, 464. Or what's the price per square foot? 329. Okay, 329 for this one. I don't think I checked for the other one if it had a pool, because if it does have a pool, it will make it exceptionally better. What's this one? No, 485, this one. Let's see. Backyard. It does have a pool. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's good. Let's see. Let's go on with this one. Fruit trees. I think this is under contract as well too. So you guys can see a lot of these properties. And this is what's probably happening right now. All these properties that I'm looking for, that I'm looking at right now to try to get some comps, are all these properties are under contract right now. So it looks like a lot of investors are buying these possibly, or maybe first-time home buyers. Um, I don't know who's really buying, but there's a lot of activity, and a lot of these properties are now like fully updated, like that 485 that I was just looking into. Um, so that means it's just the area overall, it's like exceptionally good. There's a lot of movement, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. This is really good. Another subject property, 1300. But let me see what actually has sold in this area, because those are properties that are currently under contract. But I want to look for properties that have actually sold. And just because they're under contract doesn't mean that that's a done deal. We have this 485. This sold in October. Okay, let's not look for that. Uh, we have March. This one's a little bit further out. 495. It does have a pool, and it does look like it was updated. I can tell just by that little pillar with the numbers on it, and it's a little bit bigger, getting closer to like my asking price or my the square footage of my property. And this is what I like to use other resources. For some reason, Realtor.com has like all the pictures of a property for whatever reason. Let me see what happened over here. Uh, so Realtor.com gives me what? What happened? Why is this not popping up? Okay, copy. Let me paste this over here. Why is this not doing that? What's going on? What's going on? Why is it not pulling my property? Okay. But I can tell for sure this is like a property that, and this sold in March 15th. So 12 days ago. So that's really good for it. Let's see, 495 divided by the square footage of 1467. So it sold at 337 per square foot. So 337. Let me see if I can find something else. Let me see, because that one's a little bit further out. It's like all the way here in the bottom left corner. Let me look at these in the area. February 29th. Okay. 1300. Okay, pretty good. What's the price per square foot on this? Like 315, 320? 425 divided by 1353. Yeah, 315. So yeah. I think I'm gonna stick with those comps for right now. And what does it give me? It gives me 430. And when I was doing my research on my market, it was telling me a lot of homes in Fort Lauderdale can sell for $520,000. So this property is spot on the asking price. But of course, all properties are negotiable, but let's see how much can it actually resell. So a resale can be $530,000. Now let's look into the perspective of an investor. So if an investor were to fix and flip this deal, the most that they're willing to pay for it or ask is between a range of 286 to $311,000, which is a 20%, 18% difference from the current asking price. The asking price for this property right now is $350,000, which is really good. And again, it looks like it's a really good project type of property as well too. There's some little issues happening like on the ceiling, so I'm not sure if that's because of the HVAC that it might be leaking. That's my biggest guess on it. But an investor, this is how much a fix and flip investor want to buy it. Again, all fix and flip investors are going to be very different. Some of them are going to be a little bit more conservative or aggressive, that they're willing to get as close as to like the asking price. But this is a reasonable offer that you can bring over to like this agent of this price point. So that way you can bring it over to an investor and again, try to add like your wholesale fee into it. So if the property is selling for what is it, 350, you get on the contract for $300,000. You can sell it for a $10,000 wholesale fee, sell it for 310, or try to push it for like 320 to make it a deal for them. Because at the end of the day, if they pay the closing costs, and if this investor is going to be making on this deal roughly around $80,000 worth of profit, and that's 20%, which is really good so far. So some investors are going to be very persuasive on getting that deal. and some of them might be taking a little bit less. Some of them are already comfortable at like $60,000. So it really comes down to like how much an investor is willing to buy on this deal. But this is the offer range. This is where I'll be putting like some offers, probably start a little bit lower than 286 and then work my way up. Because again, it is listed with an agent. So I want to work my relationship with my agent because I'm new to the area. So I want to look for other properties in the area as well too. I want to start building my relationship with agents, buyers, other wholesalers, title companies, contractors, and then from there start looking for properties. So this is one property that you can add into like your CRM or into the CRM so that we can keep on track on it. And then of course I will add like all the comps over here to see where it's lying in terms of like the analysis, so that way I can have like all my information as quickly as possible. So that way whenever I want to do the contract of or the assignment of contract sale, I can bring all this information to the buyer as quickly as possible. But that's a great subject property right there. Found great comps. There's a lot of activity happening right now. So there's a lot of activity of buyers buying in this area, which is really good. So it should be of a problem of finding a buyer. The problem that is going to be coming across is that the property has only been listed for like 16 days. So it's still very fresh, but it's all about talking with the agent and building a relationship with the agent and trying to figure out like, hey, why is this property selling? What's going on? And and it's definitely a special because it's spot on the asking price and the ARV. And then sometimes I will look for this as well too. And it looks like the agent also has comps because the agent put over here comps at $500,000 range um, or hold for income and producing properties. And I'm guessing that's what's happening with all these other properties where there's a lot of investors in the area that are just buying and holding. So if a fix and flip investor were to come in, this is how much they will buy it. By a buy and hold investor, it's gonna be right on to like the asking price, 356 through like 339. So that's why a lot of these properties are definitely for sure going out really quick in this area, because that's what I'm guessing a lot of buyers are doing is they're buying to buy and hold, not to buy and fix and flip. Especially Fort Lauderdale, I know for sure is definitely a hot market, but just by this small neighborhood that I'm looking into, it just looks like there's a lot of activity and a lot of competition over here. And somebody's definitely going to find that, but we just find it ourselves. If nobody else has seen it, we just analyzed it ourselves together. If you guys have any questions, you guys should be able to like unmute yourselves, but that's pretty much how you analyze like in a deal whenever you're trying to look into like any on-market deals, or if you're trying to do off-market analysis, it's pretty much the same thing. You want to know your market area. So go through the steps, know your market area, how much can properties sell for in that market area, which I walked through earlier. You basically are going to go through Zillow. Zillow does the homework for you already, depending on where it is that you're looking into. Zillow gives you all that information over here at the bottom area. And all you have to do is just confirm. If you have a subject property, cool. Yeah, use that subject property, and you have to find and find comparables in that area that you're looking or close to like your subject property to confirm, can the property sell for X amount? Because Zillow is telling me that it can sell for X amount. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is just do your homework on that spectrum. And then looking into buyers, you're gonna be able to find buyers or seeing how active the area is, but just by simply looking at properties that are currently under contract. Pending or under contract is going to give you a tremendous amount of information in here. Um, so that's the other thing as well too that we gotta look into it. But that's pretty much an analysis of fixing and flipping, or in this case, it could be a mix of both, fixing and flipping or buying and holding. So and some buying and hold investors are willing to overpay for this deal because it's definitely a deal whatsoever. There were some other properties that were in here that were selling for a lot more, and they're under contract right now, and they're in almost like the and this is the cheapest house out of all of them. All of them are selling for 450, 485, 470. And then this is, and what's the square footage? All these are smaller too. 13, this one's 15, 13, 14, 13, 13. So our subject property is 1,500 square feet, so a little bit bigger, and is the cheapest property in the area. So that's just a green lights that that's a great deal for anyone who is looking into this area whatsoever. But I'm gonna leave it open for some Q&As if you guys have like any questions, or if any you need some guidance or anything overall, you guys are able to mute yourselves, or you can drop the questions in the chat as well too, if there's any questions. So this will be the Q&A time. No questions? Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'm gonna open up the breakout rooms. So that way, if you guys want to network with, because sometimes there's investors in on these live Zoom meetings, you can network with one another. If you have to be a contractor, real estate agent, new investor, new wholesaler, or if you have a subject property that you want to share with anybody, that's what the breakout room. So the breakout room is going to be to network. So I'm gonna leave that open. And that's gonna be pretty much our wrap for today's live meetup. Again, the meetup does get recorded, so you guys will have access to the recording on the on my website, eltonvargas.com /education. And if you have any questions from there, just you can reach out to me on meetup.com. But let me open up this. Ooh, let me delete that room. Yep. And then I'm opening it up to everybody to head over here. All right. So you guys should be able to head over towards the breakout again, so that way you guys are able to network with one another.